No one at all, not even pity laughs, and then you realise you accidentally left out a vital part of the setup, and now it's awkward, and your dad puts his hand on your shoulder and says, this is not the eulogy your granddad would have wanted. I mean, that's always tricky, but turns out movie editors do it too, accidentally slicing out parts of their films that would otherwise have filled in weird plot holes. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 9 deleted scenes that explain confusing movie moments. Number 9, explaining the Ark. So apparently, if you look at the Ark of the Covenant, your face melts like an ice cream under a hot tap. I mean, that makes thematic sense, I guess. You know, hubris and not being a Nazi asshole in the presence of God and all that. But within the film itself, it's not set up at all. How does Indy know to close his eyes when the Ark is opened? Well, that's answered in a moment cut from the film where Indy and Salah visit Imam to have the staff of Ra translated. In the scene, he warns Indy not to touch the Ark or look at it when it's opened. See? Now it all makes sense. Number 8, what happens to a toad? Okay, this is less of a confusing moment and more, just a bad one. The original X-Men, one of the first drops in this tidal wave of superhero movies, was a bit silly. Look at that leather, the year 2000, what a time to be alive.
You actually go outside in these things? What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
Anyway, the film has a famously terrible line when Storm says,
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
That line is incredibly bad, partially because it seems to come out of bollock nowhere. However, it might have been a bit more palatable. Originally, the Toad character was supposed to have a running line throughout the film where he says, do you know what happens to a toad when, I don't know, it's backed into a corner or something? That was going to be his catchphrase, which would have made Storm's bafflingly awful line about lightning make a bit more contextual sense, rather than, none. Number 7, the madness of King Scar. It's a tiny plot hole that you've probably never really thought about, but in The Lion King, how is it that Nala comes to find adult Simba in his exile? What's she doing there? The Pride Lands are a barren wasteland and Simba almost killed himself travelling so far to the Oasis. Yet Nala just comes out for a stroll and happens to walk into her childhood lion friend. Well, this is cleared up in a deleted scene and musical number that was actually kept in the live show. In the film, Nala is supposed to be in exile too because Scar is starting to go a wee bit power mental and tries to seduce her in a catchy number about sexual harassment and romantic coercion that was deemed a little too unsavoury to be included in the final cut of a Disney movie. Number 6, the aliens, DNA, and all that tosh. Oh, Prometheus, you confusing son of a Why do you do any of the things that you do? So, if you think long and hard and do your homework, you can just about work out that the aliens created the human race using their black goo creation liquid, and that we're a mutated offspring of their DNA. But that is made so much clearer in an alternate opening to the film. Instead of one kill face from Frisky Dingo, look it up, standing on a waterfall and doing a random thing, there are several of them. It's turned into an actual sacrificial ceremony and you see the aliens' DNA disperse into the waters, all of which makes that whole journey of them being our creators and the purpose of the black goo just a tiny bit easier to follow. Not a lot, but a bit. Number 5, the operating system. Independence Day, bless you and everything that you've done. Blowing up the White House, Boomer outrunning an explosion, welcome to Earth, all the good stuff. Despite the stupid things in Independence Day, there's one plot hole that everyone gets hung up on, which is how in the name of Randy Quaid did Jeff Goldblum's character upload a virus to the alien mothership using a power book? Because, Macs are famous for their friendly, all-inclusive compatibility. Shut up and enjoy the splosions, say people, but actually, the film addressed it. In a deleted scene, it was revealed that Jeff Goldblum was able to use the tech in the original Roswell ship crash to code a virus that would be compatible with the alien programming, and then they just thought, sod it, and then cut the scene, because explosions, and then break for lunch. Number 4, the most expensive day off ever. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a love song to the carefree delinquency of teenagerhood and final proof that all headmasters are rubbish. Haha, good luck trying to make the youth of today understand the importance of hard work and discipline, asshole. On his day off, Ferris does stuff like going to baseball games, eating at fancy restaurants, leading us to ask, how is he paying for all this stuff? He's only a teenager, right? You can't buy everything with Broderick charm. Turns out that this was fixed in a scene where Bueller stole one of his dad's bonds and cashed it in for, as the kids would say, bare dollar. It was removed from the final edit because apparently it made Ferris look like a thief, which, yeah, no, it will do that. Number 3, Jack versus Lovejoy. Ever watched Titanic and wondered why Lovejoy goes from being fine and mean and David Warnery in one scene and then suddenly having a whopping great head wound in the next? Maybe not. Maybe you just don't care about the welfare of David Warner, you inhuman mongrel. Well, it turns out that a whole fight scene was cut out of Titanic because the running time was already longer than my Pulitzer Prize-winning penis. Lovejoy comes after Jack and Rose with a gun in the dining room, and after a bit of cat and mouse gets his head smashed through a pane of glass. It showed a rather too menacing side of Jack for Cameron's taste, and it ended up on the cutting room floor. Number 2, Bernard and Bernard. Watchmen is a Zack Snyder superhero film that cemented him as the go-to guy for DC hero blockbusters. Watchmen has a lot to answer for. Anyway, for anyone who's read the comic, they'll know Bernard and Bernard. They're the names of the street vendor and the guy reading the Tales of the Black Freighter comic, a huge subplot in the graphic novel. Those two characters are right at the center of the destruction in the film's climax, and if anyone was confused, wondering why they should care about these nameless Joes, not only were they a big deal in the original, but there were several deleted scenes of the two men interacting in the main film. It's included in the ultimate cut, which makes the destruction of New York feel that much more horrifying. Number 1, the unicorn. Now this may not count as a deleted scene to modern fans of Ridley Scott's sci-fi classic Blade Runner because it's included in the director's cut, which is the most readily available version of the film. All versions of the film end with Deckard finding an origami unicorn as he and Rachel run away. It was confusing to people when they originally saw it because why is that unicorn there? I mean, obviously friendship being magic is a key theme of Blade Runner, but it gained a lot more significance with the addition of Deckard's dream sequence of a unicorn running through a forest. Arty, but very important, because it's become a major pillar of the argument that Deckard is a replicant, that Garth planted the origami unicorn because he's seen Deckard's dreams. An important unicorn, but then every unicorn is important. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can even